Let me guess. You went on StatLocker and saw the current heroes with the highest win rate and said, you know what? I got too much self-respect to play these guys, but I could play this Moe and Krill guy. He's like that Master Blaster fellow from the 5th best Mad Max movie. It'll be fine! And then you went ahead and went 0-11 and lost because it turns out when a hero has a 55% win rate, the 55% is me and the 45% is you. Yeah, but don't worry about it. As the guy on the right side of the statistics, I'm pretty darn magnanimous, and I've thrown together a handy little guide to get you back on your feet. I will start the guide with this though. Well, this guide is a way to play Moe and Krill in the way that I play him, which is to say a surface-to-air carry to leader. I'm also building this guide with the intent that if my methodology doesn't work for you for whatever reason, you can still get a grasp for the character and make your own decisions. I've also provided chapters for you, so you can jump to whatever section you want when you come back for the rewatches. So, with all this in mind, let's jump to the first section and talk about what's good and what's bad. Bad first. Perhaps the most important thing to know with our Subterranean duo is that they have 2 heads, which means that your opponent has 2 chances to land a headshot. And if you're thinking to yourself that Deadlock is one of those shooters where unless you're dealing with a Vindicto or a Venerator, headshots don't matter, then we got a problem. Actually, we have 3 problems. Spirit Rend, Crippling Headshot, and Headhunter. And while it may seem like that's no big deal as Moe is a walking meat tank, let me set the record straight. As someone who had to play dodgeball every week in gym class, you can only take so many shots to the head before it starts to affect you in a serious way. Next up, and I'm being real general here because I'm going to cover this more when we get into the skills section, Moe and Krill lack skill synergy. You see, while Scorn is a universal constant between Burrow and Combo, his 2, 3, and 4 all feel like individually situational abilities, as opposed to anything with any real cohesion between them. And don't get me wrong, while I actually like the accessibility this provides, a lot of people who are used to heroes who go like, himmity nimmity skimmity, may have a hard time actually thinking for themselves instead of rolling their faces on the keyboard and winning with someone like Pickhaze. And finally, for the negatives, we have Krill's gun. It's actually so painfully useless that you have to buy Quicksilver Reload every single game as your first buy so that you could compensate for the BB gun in a game where even Ivy is shooting 45-70 at for pipe gun. It does 10 damage a shot up to 20 at level 36 after everyone has bought resistances. Yeah, okay, I know, I'm rounding up. Do you think I'm smart enough to figure out fractions on a 4x multiplier? I only got my diploma because it was embarrassing for the school board to have a 25-year-old man attending home economics, and the No Child Left Behind Act meant they were either going to pass me or I was Billy Madison it for another decade. Regardless, the gun sucks, and as you'll notice later in the item section, it locks you into a purple-green split. Not the end of the world, but for people who get nervous when they don't fill out the color wheel, it might cause some anxiety. But, that's it for the bad. Let's talk good. First off in the good section, and this is huge, the reason our dynamic duo has such a high win rate is because they're a support that can carry. Not to be confused with Rem, who is a support who can win games because nobody's ever noticing that he's buffing lane minions. What, you think that little emergency ration with 2 offensive abilities is carrying? He's got 2 abilities that do any damage and an AFK heal button that turns him into a simpatico parasite with his host. Cute overall, but he can't carry, at least not like Moe can. More info on that later when I discuss how we play in the late game, but for now I'm just going to ask you to hit the I trust Grimbles button and move on. The second point in our favor, Moe is fast, and I mean real fast, arguably tied with Kelvin for the fastest hero in the game when using items and abilities. And if you're thinking to yourself, how is it possible for a 350-pound dude in a tank top who's roughly 70% body fat to be the fastest guy in the video game, then you've never seen a Marine haul butt to a BX when Zins go on a BOGO. While some of this comes from his kit and your intelligent use of Burrow, Moe is, and I'm not joking here, the second fastest hero in the game behind Haze and Holiday, who only beat him out by 0.2 movement speed when compared to stock numbers. Like, look at these stats, dog. This is insane. The dude's like if John Ross ate nothing but cake and ran around with Muggsy Bogues on his back. God bless American defensive linemen and their dwarf sidekicks. Finally, believe it or not, Moe and Krill make for a really beginner-friendly hero you can run all the way up to the high real lows, as he has a ton of health, the ability to disarm carries for 5 seconds on a 15-second cooldown, which gives you a disarming hex that you don't have to buy in your base kit, and a permanently health-boosting ult that guarantees a kill every time it comes off cooldown. There is a actual reason this dude has a 55% win rate, and the only reason it's not higher is because it is physically impossible to win more than 11 games in 20 with the teammates we're going to be getting.
Why are you the way that you are?
But hey, enough about the pros and cons, let's discuss the skills and their uses. Starting with Scorn, your bread and butter in the laning phase. Scorn all but becomes your auto attack in the late game after your gun scaling fails to keep up. It's an AoE radius nuke that you don't have to aim, and it heals you based on your damage dealt with really good scaling. Because of this, and a T3 damage amplifier, it's usually #1 pick for being the first skill you max out. At least it was before the patch. We'll see how things shake out now that Combo's T3 drops its cooldown. It wasn't necessarily my choice anyway, but we'll talk about that later when we discuss skill investments. Next up, Burrow, your escape, resistance buff, lane DPS, and overall movement skill for everything but a combo initiation. Theoretically, if this skill worked how every Mo player thinks it should in their head, you'd use it to initiate with a knockup, follow it up with Scorn, and then immediately start combo before finishing your assault with a Sandblast. If that's how everything happened, Mo and Krill would get nerfed more often than Shiv because pick hazes and sevens would actually have to think for once in their lives when they saw the ground moving towards them. And we can't have carry players actually thinking, or the player base would shrink. It's great in the laning phase, great as an escape, and awesome in a team fight / after you've popped your combo sort of thing. It's not doing a whole lot for initiation. But that's not a problem, as we have an item that'll be helping us out with that whole engage thing. Following Burrow is Sandblast. Not a whole lot to say here, a wide range cone that deals almost no damage, and it has no spirit scaling. But, as I mentioned in the pros and cons, it disarms your opponent. If you combine this with Disarming Hex, the enemy will only be able to shoot you for like 5 seconds out of every 15, and this kills the haze. Great skill, awesome follow-up after combo, or to engage a teamfight after Burrow, mostly an afterthought unless you really want to put some extra points into it to get that extra disarm. But with the new T2 changes, you're already getting the most out of it on a T2 upgrade. Yeah, I say save it for last. Finally, and this right here is why we have such a high win rate, a combo. An uncleansable beatdown that locks a player in place for almost 5 seconds with the right items. Oh yeah, did I mention it can do over 300 damage every one of those seconds without Torment Pulse or Soul Burn with a 1.2 spirit scale. This right here is your carry to leader. This skill is why 70 IQ peasants get mad when their 9-game win streak with Lash is dropped to the floor because a menial laborer with a shovel decided it was time to level the playing field. And today, in my guide, we're going to use it to control the entire game. I won't get into it quite yet, but just know, with how I play, I always max this first. Alright, enough about skills, let's talk about builds and item optimization. Now, there's 2 ways to go about building Mo and Krill, and I'm going to give you the unbiased way first. If you don't know what you're doing, pull up StatLocker GG and head over to the Wipa tool before selecting Mo and Krill. From here, go ahead and choose builds from everything except Eternus. Yes, I said except for Eternus. This may seem like weird and probably contradictory advice if you're trying to do well, but trust me, those dudes are not playing the same game you and I are playing. They actually have teammates that understand simple concepts like teaming up for a gank and not diving a 1v4 when you're 7k souls behind the least fed player on the enemy team. Your teammates don't understand these things. So when you're just learning a hero like Sir Krillian, it's best to get a wide variety of choices from skill levels that aren't the top and playing their character in these hyper-specific ways on night shift that you can't incorporate because your team sucks. Rant aside, going back to StatLocker, you're going to look at the items bought at what times and their general effective win rate. As Mo and Krill have a super high win rate right now, this chart is a little bit biased with a win rate, upwards inflection thing. Also, kind of want to point out here, that items that are considered core items tend to drift more towards the middle because they show up whether you win or lose. But looking at this, you can kind of piece together a pretty straightforward build without any player bias, as it's just raw statistics on what the highest win rate is correlated to when they're purchased. Starting from the beginning, we have Quicksilver Reload in Mystic Burst and a health item of your choice. A couple of gun items here to help you with the jungle and early game trades, but I personally don't recommend them for reasons we've already talked about. Nothing wrong with monster rounds, but there are definitely better buys, like the extra regen, or even just waiting for that cold front purchase. I will note, as we go along this build path, we do start to see overlap at buy times, and at 12 total slots, you're not going to be able to buy everything you see here. Like, take this fork between Alchemical Flask and Arctic Blast. If you don't know what you're doing with this hero, you can't go wrong sticking with just green and purple items until you understand what works for you. So for now, just go ahead and pick the Blast over the Flask. You also notice these 6,400 items on the far side here. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about them, as it's usually understood that if you're buying 6,400 items back to back like this, as the stat window shows, you're probably cashing in a huge paycheck after mid-boss and are about to win the game. Scourge, Spirit Burn, and Cheat Death are the standouts here, but in reality, you're building to counter your opponents, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. For now, just stick to finding a path on this chart you like, and buy the items that go higher vertically, like, on the latitudinal plane, until you know what you're doing. Alright. Unbiased, helpful bit is over. Let's get into how I play Moe and Krill. First, we're going to discuss the build, because every time I post one of these videos, someone's like, "Oh, Grimbles, what's your build?" So you know what? To supersede you people in the comment section this time, I've helpfully uploaded a build ID publicly, and it can be found at 420 blaze it 8999. Now, once you get this build pulled up, it may look like an absolute meme build that's not even remotely serious, but it's clear, concise, and shows our priorities. It's the elevator pitch of builds. These 4 items are the core of what you'll need for the SSAD missile. Trophy Collector, to let the enemy know that we're going to kill them. Torment Pulse, to make it happen faster. Superior Duration, to draw out their suffering. And Magic Carpet, so we can be anywhere on the map at any time. Got it? Good. Let's get into lane. Being honest, laning phase is actually pretty simple, and it should be played basically the same even if you're not playing Moe and Krill. And that starts with having the right mindset. You see, your lane partner is a moron, and they're going to feed. Even if you somehow teamed with John or Papillion or whatever those Eternus players are named, assume they just got back from a lobotomy and do not rely on them. Instead, it's going to be up to you to dominate the lane. And I mean the whole lane, even including the aforementioned window licker you're laning with. Steal boxes, steal the camp, steal the enemy's camp, steal the enemy's souls. Your teammates' feelings are not important. If they wanted any say in this lane, they would have pulled the T1 camp at 2 minutes instead of trying to soul deny under the enemy guardian. Ignore them and get as much farm as you can so you can immediately buy Quicksilver Reload and Mystic Burst. Congratulations! You've added 80 damage to your Scorn and are now zone mogging your opponents at every turn and spiking their cortisol levels. Additionally, as buying those 2 items gets you to your 2400 spirit investment, you're doing even more damage on Scorn. Put 2 points into it, which will reduce your cooldown and add even more damage, and now you're going to be winning trades every 10 seconds. Actually, speaking of leveling Scorn first, let's talk about the skill section in the laning phase. While every Moe main on the planet does what I just said with Scorn, they tend to select Sandblast as their second skill. Don't do this. The only people that can really hurt you with bullets like Lady Geist and Talon are well outside Sandblast's early game range. So instead of getting that, get Burrow first for the extra damage, extra speed, extra resistances, free knockup, and better escape in case of lane ganks. Plus, Burrow's kind of psychological. People are terrified of it, which allows you to bully them more in the laning phase. So get it! With Burrow picked, we now have to make a choice. If you laned like I told you to, you'll be the first in your lane to hit 5,600 souls, and now you gotta make a decision. Do you want Torment Pulse or Trophy Collector first? Realistically, Torment Pulse is the more appealing item, as it hits the 4,800 investment spike faster and adds around 250 damage to combo. However, I've been experimenting with it, and the results are not good. The 2,400 health benefit you get from Trophy Collector far outweighs the damage you gain from Torment Pulse, and buying it sends a clear message to the enemy team. I am going to kill you and snowball. Buy it next and proceed to dive the enemy Guardian, as it can no longer hurt you. Once you've taken the Guardian, leave your lane. Your lane partner was slowing you down anyway. Besides, those tunnels boxes and sinner sacrifices aren't going to be taking themselves. Well, they will if the enemy has a rem, but we're here to prevent that. Mid-game, Moe and Krill become the Tom Homan of the map. If you're not farming sinner sacrifices, subway boxes, or camps, you're making sure everyone who crosses your arbitrary line of demarcation ends up on a t-shirt. you have a 4-second stun that cannot be countered by anybody but VISCUOUS's Q. Use it. If the enemy sees you on the map for any reason other than because you're delivering the urn with your superior speed, you're playing wrong. Mid-game Mo is a boogeyman. He's in an unmarked van in an upper middle class American neighborhood with the words free healthcare written on the side. If people see you, they report you to the neighborhood watch and your job becomes more difficult. So play in the shadows and save up for your next core buys, which we should cover now. There are 3 items that need to be purchased before mid-game ends: duration extender, superior cooldown, and a movement item. Now here's the question. Which movement item? All builds, except for mine, seem to agree that Veilwalker and Warpstone are good choices. But let's go against the grain for a second. You see, in my opinion, buying either of those items is like admitting defeat. You are loudly declaring to the enemy team, I need a defensive item to survive you. And the enemy team is going to make fun of you if you do that. They're going to get into a group chat and talk about how this Mo that was totally dominating them in the laning phase suddenly has cold feet and no faith in their late game carry capabilities. They'll then team up in a murder ball, jump you, and you're gonna die because Warpstone only moves you like 15 meters. Instead, we're gonna rush Magic Carpet. Dog, they're gonna crucify me. I just told thousands of people not to buy Mo's core item for a bit. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow with a cross burned in my lawn. This is horrible. What was I thinking? I'm just done, man. This is it. YouTube channel's fun. I'm canceling it and doing like animatronic reviews now. It's over. Now, I know what you're thinking. Magic Carpet at 15 minutes? Grimbles, don't you know anything about economy, power spikes, or diversifying your build? Yes I do. But let me ask you, why don't you have 6,400 souls at 15 minutes? Did you not take your walker? Did you not subway surf both tunnel networks? Didn't you farm Sinner Sacrifice and gank lanes? Was the urn not delivered by your own hands? If you have done all of these things, you have the money. If not, I don't know what to tell you. Like, go back to Marvel Rivals or something, as you clearly do not know how to farm. Besides, as good as Warpstone is, it's a diet Magic Carpet with half the utility. What, you really think a 30% bullet resist and a light flash is better than an item that'll let you be anywhere on the map at any time? Look, I get that it gives you a 30% bullet resist when you activate it, but you really should just buy Metal Skin instead. Combined with Magic Carpet, it's better than Warpstone in every way, and it'll help you survive those late game beatdowns way better. Speaking of which, once you got Magic Carpet, follow it up by getting Transcendent Cooldown, so your Magic Carpet and Torment Pulse proc more often, and Duration Extender, so you can stay on the carpet longer. Have I said Magic Carpet enough? Also, while we're on the topic of stacking damage, you should finally have enough souls to buy a max tier upgrade for one of your abilities, and the ability should, contrary, once again to everybody's popular belief, be combo. Yes, I'm aware of what I just said. Yes, I know the math nerds in the comment section are already typing, Nyerm. Yeah, actually, at a 1.15 multiplier, your damage is far going to outweigh that 0.7 second duration and gained cooldown reduction from the T3 combo. And it scales with items like that Torment Pulse you rushed at 7 minutes like a psychopath. And you know what I have to say to you, brave keyboard warriors? Math is dumb, and people who like it should go play Zachtronics games instead. We kill people here in Deadlock. We don't learn multiplication tables for a pizza party like we're back in 7th grade. So quit being a dork and lock in. Yeah, actually, now would probably be a good time to just air out the rest of the skill buy. Mo and Krill are interesting because they're one of the few heroes where literally every skill complements their kit once they get it to tier 2. And there's not really a wrong combination of which you get to tier 2 after Scorn. I mean, personally, I prefer Burrow myself, while saving Sandblast for last, though I realize some people are inevitably going to see the benefit of that, specifically that slow that they've added now on the tier 2 that used to be on the tier 3 for team fights. Yeah, but you know, that's all preference thing. Yeah, actually, speaking of team fighting, let's get into the late game. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but Mo and Krill are not frontliners. Sure, they have a ton of health thanks to an item in a skill build path that is designed to allow them to stay in the fight longer than anyone, say, Shiv, Abrams, and Victor. And they also have an ult that can literally turn the tide of any team fight. And while this may point to you being an engager and a frontliner on paper, that's not actually true. Trust me when I say, you want to be fashionably late to a team fight. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Your team is bad. The enemy team is also bad, but there's a good chance there's like 1 or 2 people on it with enough brain cells they can rub together to start a fire in a forest that hasn't seen rain in 5 months. And if you use your ult to start a team fight, you might secure a kill, but the hammer of 5 people that have conveniently decided to work together for exactly 12 seconds are going to show up and stomp your head in. And if you're thinking to yourself, well then my team is going to jump in and help me, after all I killed the carry, we can win now, then you've learned nothing. Your team is never going to do anything useful. If you go in to initiate a team fight, your team is going to scatter and you're going to die alone. And your team is going to lose because you were the only player with a positive kill to death ratio and more souls than the least fed guy on the enemy team. This is not hyperbole, by the way. This is not dire nihilism. When you get to my skill level, you only lose games when you die. So instead of enforcing an engage no one on your team is going to follow up on, you should farm jungle camps out of sight or farm tunnels and wait for an enemy to poke their head out and get a little bit too close to your side of the map. If you can confirm at least 2 people on the enemy team are somewhere else on the map, nuke that person before disappearing back into the shadows. If a team fight does happen, here's my advice. Let it happen. Sit back and wait for like 3 or 4 of the enemy ult icons to disappear and maybe for one of them to die. Only after that criteria has been met can you swoop in, decapitate a carry, and start windmilling like an epileptic at a rave. Trust me, I get it goes against every one of your instincts to do this, but your team is bad and you should not have to die for them. Let them make the mistakes. You need to make the game-winning plays. Then as far as the late game items go, the objective becomes to do as much damage as quickly as possible. There is a slight little bit of counterplay involved, but I want you to remember something. Every time you buy something like plated armor and spellbreaker, you're not buying escalating exposure or spirit burn. What we do in the late game is show up, obliterate a carry who's on cooldown after melting your team's worst player, and then mop up the rest of their team. If you're playing right, you really shouldn't need a ton of defensive items, so instead, lean into your burrow for resistance and trust in your kit's natural sustain. It's a lot easier to survive if you kill the carry than if you endure the carry. But if you're really struggling with them, proc focus lens and watch the funny damage ticks go up when you hit your combo. I will say though, the sheer terror an enemy feels when Mo comes flying at them on a carpet with cheat death and unstoppable proc is sometimes worth the sacrificed damage potential. Alright, and lastly, this is kind of just a little rant on my part, spend your avoid hero token on VISCUOUS. If he shows up, I don't really know what to tell you, man. Pray the restraining order goes into effect because he's the only hero that can completely shut you down. He sucks to deal with on a good day. He sucks even worse when his goo cube is saving their carry because that skill makes literally no sense, breaks the whole game. I actually have to go outside and throw rocks at slightly bigger rocks in the woods behind my house whenever he shows up on the enemy team because the entire hero is pure cancer. Like, look at this fight I recorded while I was like writing the script for this. This is some high tier Mo versus Viscit combat after both our teams got wiped, and it's basically the saddest pillow fight on the planet. I hate this hero. Alright, that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's hit the montage and we'll see you next time.
Oh man, I'm so glad I wore my quarantine suit today.
No kidding! Hey, somebody take a look at that freakazoid over there. He's really disgusting.
Shit, it's spotted
He
us.
takes one step any closer. I'm gonna rush my plasma cannon and blast him back. I don't know where you've been.
Your face is blue and your arms are green.
Hiding in the ground like a submarine.
You're the ugliest creature I've ever seen.
Plotting to attack from your armor cave.
We'll attack your skull crack, say some sound wave.
Shot to your face, then demand a raise.
Cause the pain's only gave if you're left in the grave.
Reverse osmosis.
You're a disappearing hack, your limbs are
Hocus pocus.
Your species is disgusting and you know this.
On this atmospheric particle.
I'll have to write an article.
For all of you subhumans, we're about to detonate.
They came from underground.
Stirring creatures from the pits of
They
hell.
could knock us down. Disfigured humans come out of the shell. Run this town.
Tear apart the people, eat more personnel.
Underground. They came from you made a bad sin when I pulled the pin.
Tell me how many years since the war began.
If the depths of hell is our origin,
I'ma grab a flesh wound and pour shit in.
inferior species.
You're a mangled human mixed with feces.
A disease parasitic freak from underground.
We gon' kick you out our town.
So why you heading earthbound?
We gon' be launching us, got missile at you. Listen for the sound.
Give the man emotion.
Shoot for your legs standing by the ocean.
If the river runs blood, better bring your lotion.
They blocked all the sun like freaking
They came
sky.
from underground. They're stirring demons that hunger for
smash shit apart like a broken geranium in a pot.
Do you know what we got?
We got a photon missile and we're taking a shot.
The game's changed cause people are changing.
Humans rearrange into different strange things.
Aim for the brain, maintain no fainting.
Even pays by the cards and we're making change.
The devil!
At a molecular
You
level.
never stop our strive.
You know I'm a rebel.
Cross between a human and a rat.
We should end the misery with a baseball bat.
Electrify.
Ride like a pork chop. Won't stop rapping till the human race is on top.
Up in the space, I won't knock.
Even though the earth's surface is
Scorching
scorching hot.
from underground.
Despicable creatures with
So
mangled
they could
limbs.
knock us down. A pool of blood is where the bodies wanna run this town.
We're cocked and loaded, about to pull the
They came from
pin.
underground. They came from underground. Despicable creatures with mangled limbs to our
A
sound.
pool of blood is where the bodies swim.
Pound for pound, locked and loaded, about to pull. They came from underground. They came from underground.
Yeah, so about the 5th best Mad Max movie, Thunderdome, not a good movie. I know we reference it a whole lot, but like, have you ever actually gone back and watched it recently, like with the whole Aretha Franklin thing? Or was that Aretha Franklin or was that Tina Turner? I think that was Tina Turner. Like, the whole movie, like, they're explaining the plot to you every step of the way. They're like, oh, we gotta go to the Thunderdome and I'm explaining the rules, and now we gotta go find the Captain Jacket. It's just such a bad Mad Max movie. The tier goes Fury Road, Road Warrior, Furiosa, Mad Max, and Thunderdome. And trust me, I'm a Diesel Punk fan. Thunderdome's a bad movie. It's like a G-rated Mad Max movie. Makes zero sense why anybody likes it. What was I to? Have a good day.